This next list is top 5 movie speech scenes, inspired, of course, by Leonardo DiCaprio's really, really long speeches in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Number 5 would be Captain Coon's speech from Pulp Fiction. It's just a really bizarre moment in the film. It's about the watch and how it got smuggled back to young Bruce Willis. You can really hear Tarantino in it, but Walken puts his own spin on it.
Walken style.
His own Walken style, which is nice. And it's just this,
inflection.
like, I don't know, I think it kind of summarized, when does it take place? Like the 1950s, I think?
Yes.
Is this like awkward old man giving you this bizarre speech about all this stuff that you're supposed to, it's supposed to be really important to you, and here it turns out the item he's giving you has been up in his ass.
I definitely want to have a Tarantino speech, so I do have one, but not on my number 5. Danny DeVito's penguin rousing speech in Batman Returns, to bring it back to Batman Returns, that's a really good speech.
I don't really remember it so much, but I'm happy that Batman Returns has played such a big role in this.
That's my favorite Batman movie. That's the best one. I don't care what it. Christopher Walken actually is the weakest element in that movie, I would say, except I love Christopher Walken, so I'm glad he's in it. Basically, in that speech is a rallying cry to the Penguins. Originally, his plan was to steal Gotham's firstborn sons, but now he's so sick of it that he says, hell, the sexes are equal. He's gonna kill them all, regardless of gender or chronological birth.
So in a way, yeah, it was kind of nice. It was sort of when was that movie, in the 90s? 92. So back then, we were just giving it strong for women's rights. Penguin doesn't discriminate.
Daniel Waters wrote that. He's very good. I don't know why he's sort of fallen off. He wrote Heathers and a couple other things.
All right, so I'd say number 4 would be Roy Batty, the character in Blade Runner, the android.
The death speech.
His Tears in the Rain speech.
Good speech.
I mean, Blade Runner has to be on it's amazing. And I was actually rewatching it again this morning before we met, and that movie looks great.
It still does.
It is awesome. And the speech is so creepy. Yeah. And he's like, you wouldn't imagine the things I've seen. Like tears in rain disappear. It's perfect.
Yeah, and that Vangelis score is just underneath it.
Yeah. And it's very quick. I think the speech is only, I guess it's more of a monologue, but it's maybe a few sentences long.
Number 4 for me is Tarantino's Like a Virgin speech at the beginning of Reservoir Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Now Tarantino sort of overacts it, but I just think that the speech is it's his first speech in a movie. The first Tarantino speech is literally Tarantino doing it. And it's just sort of a good announcement that he's here as a player in movies. And it's this first sort of pop culture referencing vulgar speech, rambling on about what like a virgin actually means. A girl has gotten around, but she's been given the ride of her life because she's made love to, and it hurts, and so she feels like a virgin again, which is just so cute,
So, I don't know if cute's the word I would choose for it, but yeah. I like that. I like that that's on there. It's definitely one of the more interesting Tarantino speeches, and it's pretty cool that he gave it and it was here I am on the scene. I will say though, I don't really care for Reservoir Dogs that much.
Really?
It doesn't really look great, I don't think. 1, and then 2, it's just a lot of swearing and a lot of crazy violence. And
I hate those things.
No, I mean, I'm okay with it, but it's just I don't know. It didn't do it for me. You know what the thing was though? I saw it later, so there had already been so much hype, and then I finally saw it, and I didn't get what it was all about.
I just love the structure of it because you never see the bank robbery. It's all about the setup and then the fallout,
Afterwards, yeah, for sure.
It just had a theatrical sort of vibe to it.
Number 3, in this one, it's kind of, I guess it doesn't technically qualify. Well, it's sort of a speech. Would be the opening speech from Trainspotting by Ewan McGregor. I can't recite the entire thing off the top of my head, but it's perfect. Buy yourself a car, buy a fucking television. And then he gets hit by the car. And then it just says a lot of things about, I don't know, how he felt about society and about, I don't know. I think everyone can kind of relate to what he's talking about there.
It's funny because in the movie, he doesn't actually talk that much, just verbally. But
that's probably the most he says, actually, in the beginning.
But number 3 is the Al Pacino speech as Colonel Slade at the end of Son of a Woman. He does that Al Pacino thing where he'll go from sort of a level speaking voice, well, not level for Al Pacino, so it's loud, but not crazy loud, and then he goes crazy loud in the same line. Only Al Pacino can do it. I would say somewhere in the mid-'80s, his voice sort of went to cigarettes, and it has that sort of
raspy
thing.
Telephone operator voice, yeah.
I enjoy that for Al Pacino's speeches, that voice better.
Than his non-cancer voice.
Yes, exactly, than the non-cancer voice.
So number 2, the president's speech from Independence Day. I mean, you know. Although if you've gone back and rewatched that movie, it is awful.
Yes, it's not good.
It is really bad.
It's funny because at the time I did not enjoy it because objectively speaking, it's not a good movie. But since then, it's got the nostalgia thing working for it, and so now I actually enjoy watching it.
But I mean, and it's also great. It's the president of the United States, of course, that is uniting the world and
Yeah.
fight against aliens.
I want to say that rocket ships like fire at the end of the speech. Does that not happen?
There's rocket ships, or there's fireworks, or there's something.
My number 2 speech. I'm gonna go with Robert De Niro's baseball speech in Untouchables. Remember that? Well, it's a really good speech. What happens is Robert De Niro is Al Capone, and he's upset with some kinks in his team's armor. He talks about baseball being a team sport and about the team being about sacrifices. And basically somebody in his crew has been out of line. And at the end of the speech, when he gets to the big point about how baseball is a team sport, he just beats the guy's head in with the baseball bat until like he's just gushing blood on the table. It's a cool speech. Because Robert De Niro, like, you know, he never goes like Al Pacino style. Like, he's always very contained, and that's a great example of him being sort of menacing and quiet, but also having a speech.
He's got a baseball bat the entire time.
I mean, he's a scary guy.
It's a terrifying guy.
He put on like 40 pounds for that movie just to be cool.
So number 1, now this one is tough, and this is going to be great because you hate this movie.
Oh, no.
But it's not, I guess, technically a speech as it is just like the scene between Phillip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix in The Master, where they're on the boat. I mean, I had to include it because I was kind of running low on speeches.
I do not like The Master at all. But that is a good speech, but it's significant of nothing. They have an awesome speech, and then the movie doesn't...
No, but I mean, that's what carries the entire movie. You just got to look into it more. And that's where he starts to get to know him, and you get to glimpse a little bit into all the problems that Joaquin Phoenix has.
I don't know.
And like just the way they look at each other, it makes them cry, and then like in an instant they shut it off, and they have to go back to drinking or going to the party.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant, and it's a super intense. It's what, 15 minutes or something like that. It's some of the best acting I think I've seen in a long time.
They're really good at acting at each other, but it just feels like they were rudderless. Like for me anyway, like I know that you feel like the movie is representative of Joaquin Phoenix's problems as an addict, right? And then that's the whole thing, is that Philip Seymour Hoffman's taking advantage. He's exploiting that addiction, and he's using him, and it's about their weird relationship, and also how it sort of works as an analogy for Scientology or whatever, right? But the movie felt like it was building to something, and then it just ends, and you're sort of left with this feeling like cinematic blue balls. Like I did, you know, there wasn't the resolution.
It's so funny. I just did not leave with that impression at all.
Interesting.
I didn't feel like it was wrapped up in a tight bow, but
No, it was not.
I was satisfied with it. I did not feel like it left all these questions unanswered.
Interesting.
But it's fascinating because a lot of people who are big fans of Paul Thomas Anderson,
Yeah, and I love him.
don't like that movie at all.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's more abstract too. It's like they don't spell things out at all.
Yeah, so I like that a lot. But it's interesting because do you like the Coen brothers a lot?
Yeah.
Now, see, they piss me off all the time because I feel like their movies give me blue balls.
Oh, because Barton Fink style endings.
Well, they're just like, no, we're the Coen brothers. Fuck you, our movie's over.
Yeah, it's like, oh look, she's in the painting.
Because they build it up forever, and then they're like, we're gonna change it completely, and all right, goodbye.
But I don't know, their movies have this like silly flow that I just like. I don't take them totally seriously anyway. So
Yeah, maybe that's the difference.
Sort of the atmosphere of the movie. Like I was just expecting some sort of revelatory moment at the end. I think that's not the only thing that I had problems with, obviously, but it's just like was the final thing that compounded my dislike of it. But I love P.T. Anderson, and also like the other Paul W.S. Anderson, who did Mortal Kombat, which is really good.
Incredible.
But my number 1 speech is Gordon Gekko in Wall Street, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's such a cool speech. He's such a horrible human being in that movie, and yet you just like you're listening to him say it, and you're like, man, I totally understand where you're coming from. Greed is, for lack of a better word, good. Greed works. You know, I could like recite the entire speech because it's kind of galvanizing. Like you see that speech and you're like, I want to like go
Snort,
buy a lot of things.
cook a bunch of hookers, and be rich and
That's not what I'm saying. He's a go-getter, man, you know? Sure, he's evil, and he's just, you know, he buys businesses and then just sells the pieces, but still, you know? It's a great speech. He's got another, like, cigarette voice. It's sort of like this sort of slick salesman, huckstery thing where he seems very smart, but also, like, he's sort of wheeling and dealing while he's talking.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's got definitely incredible charisma.
There you have it. 2 compelling opinions, 2 compelling lists, 1 compelling film. Here on this week's edition of Listcore, A Dark Matter.
Certainly is a lot of compelling, Mr. Kirsch. Thanks for having me out. I'll be seeing you guys some point in the future when we review one of my favorite films ever, Dog Dad, starring Martin Short as Phillip the businessman, Sean Penn as Pippi the Pitbull, and Whoopi Goldberg as Felice. Excellent film. Excellent.